Good morning, boys and girls. This is your math e-learning lesson for Wednesday, April the 29th. We're going to be looking at lesson 126 today, which is dividing by multiples of 10. And this is part 1. We're dividing by multiples of 10. So let's take a look over here. We have 963 divided by 30. Well, you can see here we have that multiple of 10. Okay. Now, to break this down, we need to look at the smaller problem within the larger problem first. So we have 963 divided by 30. So what you have to do is you have to look to see which part of the dividend can you start to divide with. Because we take a look, okay, will we say 9 divided by 30? No, obviously we can't do that. So we look even further. What about 96? Can we say 96 divided by 30? Yes, we can do that. So that's what we're looking at. So that's the smaller problem that we're looking at, 96 divided by 30. Now, if you remember, in order to do that, we even look a little bit smaller. What we do is we look for that basic fact. You always want to go back to your basic multiplication facts. That's what's going to help you here. So even though we're looking at 96 divided by 30, we want to think basic multiplication facts. So in that case, we're looking at 9 divided by 3. So that takes us back to our basic facts where we say, okay, well 3 times what comes close to 9 without going over? Well, in this case, 3 times 3 equals exactly 9. So we know that we can use that to help us with the larger problem that we're doing, which is actually 96 divided by 30. So again, let's go back before we even go any further. You have this 963 divided by 30. So you're not going to just try and think, well, 30 times what is going to come close to 963. You have to break the 963 down. And so we break it down to a problem that can be done. So for example, we started with this, 9 divided by 30. Well, obviously we know that can't be done, so we move over. 96 divided by 30. Yes, that's a problem that we can solve. So that's what we're going to work on, 96 divided by 30. But then we need to break it down even further because we need to think back to our basic multiplication facts to see what it is that we're going to use to multiply the 30 by. So when we break it down to the basic fact, our basic fact is 9 divided by 3, or 3 times 3 equals 9. So because we know that 3 times 3 equals 9, there's a good chance that 3 will work when we do 96 divided by 3. So 96 divided by 3. So now what you have to say is 3 times 30. 3 times 30 is 90. Your 3 times 0 is 0, and 3 times 3 equals 9. So that does work here. So now we have 96 minus 90, which gives us a 6, and then we have this other digit to bring down. Now we have 63 divided by 30. And again, we revert back and think back to our basic multiplication facts of 6 divided by 3. 6 divided by 3 is 2. So then we try the 2 here when we say 63 divided by 30. And 2 times 30 equals 60. So now we have 63 minus 60, which equals 3. And there are no other digits to bring down, and so we bring that up as our remainder. Okay? All right, also remember that the steps in long division are divide, multiply, subtract, bring down if you have another digit to bring down, or you bring up that remainder. Again, you could always go back and check your quotient here, and you would multiply your quotient times the divisor. So we have 32 times 30, and remember that when you're multiplying with multiples of 10, you can just have that 0 hanging off. So now we have 32 times 30. We have the 0 hanging off, so we can just bring down the 0 here. And then we do 3 times 2 equals 6. 3 times 3 equals 9. That's 960. You should always end up with your dividend, what you started with. But we're not finished yet. All we've done was the multiplying. You have to remember that you always need to add on that remainder. And when you do that, 963, which is what you started with. All right, let's move to this example. And here we have a 4-digit dividend, 2,531 divided by 40. Well, obviously you're not going to know off the top of your head 40 times what number equals or comes close to 2,531. So you need to break down that 2,531. So we take a look at the smaller division problem that we can do. Okay, we can't say 2 divided by 40, so that's not it. So we move over, a 2-digit number, 25 divided by 40. We can't do that. So we move to see if we can do the 3-digit. 253 divided by 40, yes, that we can do. Now we have to see, well, what possible number are we going to multiply the 40 by to come close to 253? So here's where we're going to look at our basic multiplication facts again. So we're looking at this as our problem, 253 divided by 40, but now we're going to use basic multiplication facts to help us figure out what that quotient should be. So now we'll say, well, let's break it down to a basic fact. A basic fact would be 25 divided by 4. So 4 times what number comes close to 25 without going over? And again, you have to go through all of your multiplication facts. And you should recognize that 4 times 6 equals 24. So because 4 times 6 equals 24, which is less than 25, it will probably work if we do 40 times 6. So we put our 6 here over the 3. Remember, we have to line things up. And we need to put the 6 over the 3. Why? Because we're saying 253 divided by 40. If you wrote the 6 over the 5, that would mean you're saying 25 divided by 40. And you're not. You're saying 253 divided by 40. So the 6 goes above the 3. And 6 times 40 is 240. 6 times 0 equals 0, and 6 times 4 equals 24. So now you would subtract 253 minus 240. 3 minus 0 is 3. 5 minus 4 equals 1. 2 minus 2 equals 0. We don't need to put that 0 down in front. And remember that as you are subtracting this number and you get your answer, this number always needs to be less than your divisor. If it's not less than the divisor, then that means you didn't go high enough up here in the quotient. Okay, so now we have this 13, but we look and we see that we still have this 1 hanging out, right? That's the next digit that we need to bring down, that 1. So now you have 131 divided by 40. Yes, that can be done, but to help us with that, to figure out what we should multiply the 40 by, we then look for that basic fact. Our basic fact here would be 13 divided by 4. Okay, and 13 divided by 4 would be 3 because 3 times 4 equals 12. Okay, so here now we know that 3 times 0 equals 0 and 3 times 4 equals 12. We write that down and we subtract. Okay, 11. There are no other digits to bring down. We bring up the remainder. Remember, you can have a 2-digit remainder, you can have a 3-digit remainder, but your remainder is always going to be less than your divisor. If it's not less than, you made a mistake, and this number here should be higher. Okay, So again, you have to just simply break down the problem. It doesn't matter how many digits you have in the dividend. You're always just going to start out by looking to see if you can do the division. I can't say 2 divided by 40. So I move over. Can I say 25 divided by 40? No, I move over. Can I say 253 divided by 40? Yes, absolutely. Okay? But then you need to have some idea of what you should multiply by. And that's where we break it down and look for that basic fact. That basic fact is just simply helping us know what we should what we should multiply the divisor by. Okay? And again, if we want to check by multiplying to see if you have the correct answer, we're going to multiply 63 times 40, and so we can let that 0 hang out. Okay, we just bring the 0 down in our products, and then we multiply. 4 times 3 equals 12, put down the 2, carry over the 1. 4 times 6 equals 24, plus 1 equals 25. So we have 2,520. And remember, you must always add on your remainder. So now you add on your remainder. 1, 3, 5, 2. 2,531, and that's the dividend that we started with. So just a way to go back and check your division with multiplying. Especially in the beginning, if you're not really sure, you look at your answer, you're not sure if that's correct, you're questioning it. It's always a good idea to do the multiplication checking to verify that the answer that you've gotten is correct. Okay, we can look at a few more problems in the practice section. Okay. Okay, so let's see what we have. Let's try 2,300 divided by 50. 2,300 divided by 50. So we look to see what can we do. What smaller division problem can we do? 2 divided by 50? No. 23 divided by 50? No. 230 divided by 50? Yes, that we can do. So remember then that the quotient, the part of the quotient you're working on is over here, over the 0, because you're able to do 230 divided by 50. Now you need to know, what should you multiply by? That's where we look for the basic fact. Okay, our basic fact would be 23 divided by 5. 23 divided by 5, we would say 4, because 5 times 4 equals 20. So then there's a good possibility that that's going to work out fine for the larger division that we're doing. So now we have 4 times 0 is 0, and 4 times 5 equals 20. So yes, that does work out. 230 minus 200, that's 30. We have another digit. Okay, you have another 0. You must bring that down. Remember, we don't leave any digits dangling, and our 4 is over here, over this 0, because that's for the 230. So we do have this 0 that we have to bring down and then continue dividing. So now we have 300 divided by 50. So once again, you want to think of your basic facts. So we break it down. Our basic fact here would be 30 divided by 5. So 30 divided by 5 is 6. 6 times 0 is 0. 6 times 5 is 30. 300 minus 300 equals 0. So in this case, no other digit to bring down, no remainder to bring up. So 2,300 divided by 50 equals 46. And then if you want to do that multiplication checking, okay, you're always going to multiply the quotient times the divisor. So we have 46 times 50 and we want to write it with that 0 hanging off, because then it makes it easier in the multiplying. We can just simply bring down that 0 in our product, and then we just do a quick multiplying. 5 times 6 equals 30. 5 times 4 equals 20, plus 3 equals 23. 2,300. There is no remainder to add on. 2,300 is what we started with. Right? And let's go to 2,453 divided by 70. So 2,453 divided by 70. So again, we have to look for that smaller division problem within the larger division problem. So we start 2 divided by 70, no. 24 divided by 70, no. 245 divided by 70, yes, that we can do. Okay, so we know that we're going to be writing the quotient up over the 5 because we're saying 245 divided by 70. But now to help us figure out what that is, we look for the basic facts. Okay, our basic facts here would be 24 divided by 7. 24 divided by 7. Well, 7 times 4 would be 28. That's too high. 7 times 3 equals 21. So let's try that here. Okay, 3. So then 3 times 0 equals 0, and 3 times 7 equals 21. Now again, when you're doing this part even, okay, if you need to write this down to figure out 70 times 3, and you need to do this, then this is what you do. Okay, if you need to write out that multiplication problem to be certain that you're getting the correct product, that's fine. Or if you can look here and say 3 times the digit in the ones place, 3 times the 0 is 0, 3 times 7 equals 21. Either way, it works. Then you subtract. 5 minus 0 equals 5. 4 minus 1 equals 3. 35. 2 minus 2 is 0. We don't need to put a 0 out in front. But we're not finished. We have this other digit here, the 3. So we need to bring the 3 down. And now we have 353 divided by 70. Again, we need to look for that basic fact. Here we have 35 divided by 7. 35 divided by 7 equals 5. 5 times 0 equals 0. 5 times 7 equals 35. 353 minus 350. 3 minus 0 equals 3. 5 minus 5 is 0. 3 minus 3 is 0. So we end up with a remainder of 3. And now go back and do that multiplication checking. Our quotient, 35, times the divisor, 70. We're going to let that 0 hang off, because then we can just bring it down in the product, and then we have some simple multiplication here. 5 times 7 equals 35. Put down the 5, carry over the 3. 7 times 3 equals 21, plus 3 equals 24. 2,450. But don't forget, you always add on your remainder. We add on 3. And 2,453, that is what we started with. Okay? All right. Now, basically, this really is a review because we have been working on long division for a while. So even though it's sort of an introduction here, and it's saying that it's dividing by multiples of 10 part 2, we have been working on the dividing for a while. Okay, so not very new to you, but again, with it being the multiples of 10, in some cases, then it should actually be a little bit easier than some of the division that we've been doing in the past. Okay, but again, just work through carefully And remember that you're always looking for that smaller division problem, because you always want to break it down to get to the smallest division problem that's possible for you to do. Okay, it's possible for you to solve. Okay, you're not going to just try and solve 2,453 divided by 70. You need to look for that smaller division problem that can be done. Okay, so please work carefully with that. Remember, it's all about keeping things lined up. Also, making sure that you're writing your quotient in the correct column where it should be, because otherwise you're going to end up with some incorrect answers. So it's very important that wherever the smaller problem is that you're using 245 divided by 70, that 5 in the ones place, you want to make sure that that's where you're writing the quotient right up above that 5. So again, keeping things lined up is very important. Writing neatly is very important so that you can see how things are lined up and that your numbers are one under the other. Okay? All right, so work carefully. You'll be completing lesson 126. It's numbers 1 through 30. And of course, you know that if you have any trouble, any questions, that you reach out to me so that I can help you with that. Also, don't forget, keep working on IXL and extra math. Okay? And I will talk to you later. Bye.